My kids love beef jerky, so let me show you how I make it. Real quick, real easy. You can do it at home too. Today's flavor is going to be teriyaki. We're going to use soy sauce, sesame oil, some honey. I did have to use brown sugar as well, some white pepper, garlic. I didn't have any fresh ginger, so I used powdered ginger. And we're going to use a little bit of rice wine vinegar. Mine is seasoned. You're going to mix all these ingredients in a bowl. I'm using my Tefal pot because it has a lid. We're going to add about a half a cup of soy sauce. All these measurements are approximate and you can adjust to your liking. But this is what I found is the best flavor for me. After we add our soy sauce, we're now going to add about a half a cup of brown sugar. Next, we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. I have a seasoned blend. You can use a plain one if you like. You can also use mirin. I'm also going to use about a tablespoon of sesame oil. Now be careful, sesame oil is strong. So use a little bit and add more if you like later. But I know I'm going to use about a tablespoon. Now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of minced garlic in there. I love garlic, so the more the better for me. Then we're going to do about a teaspoon of white pepper. I like white pepper instead of black pepper in recipes like this. That's just my preference. You can use black pepper if that's all you have. And we're also going to add about a tablespoon of ginger. Again, I didn't have fresh laying around. Powder works just fine. You just want that flavor in there. And finally, I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of honey to the mixture for our teriyaki marinade. I don't know why I was stirring that with a spoon. I am crazy, so I just switched my whisk. But anyway, you're going to stir that till the brown sugar is incorporated. It is not going to melt all the way because it is brown sugar and you're not heating it up. You don't have to heat up this marinade. Just want to stir it really, really well. It'll do all the melting and melding when you have it in the fridge. So you just don't want big clumps of anything in your marinade. You just want it well incorporated. After you have it all mixed together, now you want to taste it to see if this is the flavor that you want, and you can add any more ingredients that you like at this point. But for me, this turned out the perfect teriyaki marinade, so I'm going to go with that. And I'm not going to add anything else. Today, I'm going to use a bottom round. My store locally had it on sale, and it was already sliced thin. It was perfect for me to use for jerky, and you can buy like top round, bottom round, or you want a lean cut of beef. But I chose bottom round again because it was on sale and it was already sliced thin, so there was hardly any extra work for me to do. But I usually buy it in bulk at like Costco or something. And we're just going to cut it into strips. Some of the meat is a little thicker at the top than at the bottom, so you'll see me separate that so I'll have an even dehydrate in the process. I'm going to put the thicker ones on a different level than the thinner ones. The cuts of meat I have today are extremely thin. If you do it yourself and not get it from the store sliced this thin, you may have thicker pieces, which will take a little bit longer to dehydrate, but that's okay. I just happened to come up with some thinner meat, so it just worked out for me. And we're just going to plop that into the marinade as we go along. Now, this recipe is a no-cure recipe. You can make this one quick and easy with no waiting. If you do decide to use a cure, which I also do, you have to wait at least 24 hours before you can dehydrate it and all that. But I'm just doing a real quick, simple one. This one will have a shelf life about 2 to 3 weeks. It's not even going to last that long, so I'm not worried about curing it. If I were making a super large batch, I would probably cure it. And if I was making a ton of different flavors, just because I know that the kids will have more to choose from and they might not eat it as fast as they're going to eat this one. But since we are making a small batch today, it's going to be a no cure recipe without using the pink salt number 1. And now that we have it all cut up, we are just going to toss it around in the marinade, and then we're going to put a lid on it and we're going to sit this in the refrigerator. Now, marinating times differ according to your fridge temperature, also the size of your strips as well. I am going to marinate this for about 2 hours. You can marinate it overnight if you like, but 2 to 3 hours would be sufficient enough for this. So you're going to make sure it's covered. And we're just going to go ahead and stick that in the fridge. Mine was marinated for 2.5 hours, and now we're going to get it ready for the dehydrator. I have a really little old school dehydrator. I need a new one, but right now this one has been working. So I'm going to go through, and you want to take off any excess marinade to help with the dehydrating process. But I'm going to separate them out into the thinner strips on one level and the thicker slices on another, just so I can control the rate at which each dehydrates, and I don't have to do too much moving around during the dehydrating process. So I'm just going to put the thinner end pieces that I cut off on one tray and all the thicker ones on another. And we're going to speed it up, because who really wants to see me out here just separating all these? That's just crazy. But if you have a larger dehydrator, you could probably fit more on a tray. Mine is really small, so I just work with what I got. So after it's in there, you want to make sure you dehydrate on about 160 degrees. If you don't have a dehydrator, you could also use an oven at its lowest setting. Dehydration depends on the size, the thickness of your meat as well. It can go anywhere from 4 hours, 8 hours, sometimes 12. But I'm going to put mine on 160 to start, and we'll see how long it takes. I put the thicker ones on the bottom closest to the heat, and then the thinner ones on top. So I'm going to check the thinner ones periodically to make sure that it's dehydrating at a good rate. This was about at 2.5 hours in. It still bends. You want it to bend, but you don't want it to bend that much. So I did put it back on, but I lowered the temperature to about 130 for another hour. So this took me about 3.5, 4 hours tops for the amount of meat and the thickness that I had on all of these. But you want your jerky to bend but not break. If it's broken, it's probably too done. So now that it's done, I did put it in a glass mason jar, and I'm going to vacuum seal the air out to keep it as fresh as possible. The kids will be in and out of it, but they know to reseal it with the vacuum sealer just to keep it fresh. This process is easy. It does take a couple hours, but you're not doing a lot of work during that time. So if you found this helpful, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe.